Assalamu alaikum. The Turkish push into northern Syria has been the subject of many headlines over the past few weeks. Left and right-wing politicians in the US and several European nations have reacted with anger and called for sanctions to be placed on Turkey. Turkey has also been drilling for oil around Cyprus against Greek protests. Greek, Israeli, and Egyptian forces are holding joint drills to retaliate. Turkish fighter aircraft regularly face off Greek jets. These are a series of small pictures that might make us wonder about Turkey's plans. But let's zoom out in time and space to look at the big picture. Let's start with a map of the world with the location of Turkey highlighted. Turkey lies in both Asia and Europe. To its north are Russia and Ukraine. To its west are Greece and Bulgaria. To its south are Syria and Iraq. To its east are Iran, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia. Modern Turkey is the successor to the Ottomans, a multi-ethnic empire that ruled the Middle East, parts of Central Asia, Europe, and North Africa at its peak. It was defeated and occupied in the First World War. The Turks started a war of independence and fought off the invaders successfully. The areas they liberated became Türkiye, or Turkey, the modern state that we know today. Over the past 30 years, the Turkish economy has grown significantly, winning Turkey respect and a lot of opposition. The Turks have also built up their armed forces and have become more assertive about their interests. Since Turkey is presently ruled by a religiously inclined government, there has been talk of them trying to recreate the Ottoman Empire. The insinuation is that Turkey wants to conquer the territories lost over the past few centuries. The offensive in northern Syria is being seen in this light. So let's first talk about Syria. A popular uprising started against the Syrian government on March 15, 2011. This was part of the Arab Spring. According to the New York Times, many of the activists involved in the Arab Spring were trained by the National Endowment for Democracy, a US foundation. You can find a link to the archived article in the description below. The uprising in Syria rapidly evolved into a bloody civil war that has since killed several 100,000 people and sent a wave of almost 4 million refugees into Turkey, Jordan, and several European countries. As the writ of the Syrian government collapsed, militant groups rose across the country. Among these were ISIS and a Kurdish group called YPG, Yekeniyen Parastina Gel. ISIS, as you know, was a fanatical religious group. The YPG is a fanatical ethnic group of Kurd, or Kurds as they call in the US, that is allied with a Kurdish terrorist organization from southern Turkey. As ISIS rose its ugly head, the US, Canada, Britain, and France looked for a local secular group to partner with, and they chose the YPG. The leaders of the YPG were smart. They quickly renamed their group the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF. The media lapped up the new name and image, with the word democracy included. The newly minted SDF reveled in the air support provided by their Western partners and fought off ISIS. In the territory they took from ISIS, they created an autonomous Kurdish state. Turkey was watching all of this with great alarm, as attacks grew in its south. We must understand that this is not an ordinary state. Turkey is powerful and is likely to become more powerful in the future. It is the pathway from Asia into Europe. It holds the Bosphorus, which is the only strait that allows Black Sea countries access to warm waters. Turkey also connects energy-rich countries in its east, like Azerbaijan and Russia, with energy markets in Europe. Finally, Turkey is an industrial powerhouse, with the 13th largest economy in the world. The Turkish armed forces are the second largest military in NATO, after the US. When the Kurdish presence began to affect their territory, Turkey decided to act. Their plan is to create a 32-kilometer wide safe zone along their border, and in this safe zone they would settle the millions of Syrian refugees in their country. Since most refugees are of Arab or Turkic origin, this safe zone would become a buffer between Turkey and the militant Kurds. In this matter, Turkey does not have a choice. They have to protect their borders. In fact, most decisions made by states are not necessarily in the hands of their leaders. States usually act in their interest, regardless of who the leaders are. We can almost predict what a decision would be if we understood the big picture. This present decision about northern Syria has been on the cards for a few years. Anyone seeing the big picture would have expected this sooner or later. In a similarly predictable way, Turkey is also forced to project its power in other directions. As the European Union cracks up, Eastern European countries will look for strong partners around them. Turkey is likely to play a role there. As the Middle East collapses further, the United States will mostly stay away from conflict since they are now self-sufficient in oil production. The resulting power vacuum in Turkey's neighborhood will force them to get involved. It's almost inevitable that many regions influenced by the Ottoman Empire will once again be influenced by modern Turkey. This is not by the design of Turkish policymakers. Their hand will be driven by the events taking place around them. I'm not saying that Turkish actions are praiseworthy or blameworthy. Someone screwed up the neighborhood, and Turkey has to act. The resulting loss of human life and misery caused by the conflict are really sad, but they are not necessarily Turkey's fault. I wish that those who rose up in the Arab Spring, the protests that came to be known all around the world, I wish that they had looked at the big picture. Remember, my friends, don't forget to zoom out and subscribe for more big pictures like this one.